Delighted to be joined today by Tanya Anderson, who is Secretary of the Laxey and Lonnon Allotment Association, which I have to say, Tanya, has the best acronym ever of LALA. I just think that is
we
so
have
good.
a little sign on one of the trees on Baldoon Road. It says La La Land.
Oh,
and everyone in the
perfect.
village has a bit of a giggle over it.
That is so perfect. And it's such a bright and shiny and happy thing as well, isn't it? You are, of course, founder of Lovely Greens as well. And you're very good at posting helpful videos and blog posts and as you mentioned, Instagram videos and bits and bobs as well, helping people with their gardens and allotments and things as well. So I guess before we talk about the event itself then, 'tis a rather wonderful time of year. We've got bluebells, we've got snowdrops, green is returning to the island as well, which is great to see. What is actually happening then in your allotment right now, and what should we be doing in our little green spaces? Because although it's a lovely time of year, also at this time of year the weather can present some challenges, can't it?
I on my YouTube channel, I always do a walk around once a month, and I call it either January in the allotment garden, or last Sunday it's February in the allotment garden. So you can see exactly what's happening. And it's grey and it's brown, but there are a few things that are popping up out of the soil. Still, it is very, very early, and there are very few things that should be sown right now as far as seeds, and definitely not outdoors. And I see that as one of the biggest issues with especially beginner gardeners, is that you get so excited. Spring's almost here. You know, it's been so warm and balmy. But, you know, like that, we can get a cold snap. And anything that has come out of the ground, even in April, can be completely decimated by a frost. So it's actually better to wait a little bit longer, especially for crops that you're going to be growing outdoors, crops or flowers, really. The only kinds of things that you should be thinking about sowing right now are really hardy types of veg, and also things that you might grow under glass in a greenhouse or a polytunnel or even your conservatory. And I've actually brought in some seedlings that I've just sown. So these are tomato seedlings, and I'm growing, I think it's 4 different types this year. And I've not sown anything since these, and some aubergines, which was 2 weeks ago. And they're going to be nurtured in my house. They've got grow lights and all of that, because the light this time of the year, especially from a windowsill, it really isn't enough for plants. So it's actually a perfect time to be thinking about seeds and thinking about garden planning, but not necessarily jumping the gun and starting to sow seeds.
Well, let's think, because I know that the one time I had a little allotment once.
I didn't know that.
I did, yes. I had to go growing all kinds of things, even sweet corn. That didn't work very well, but anyway. Yes, I had one once, and what I used to do, like you said, was sort of have those little trays, and I would start the seeds inside. And so they had sort of like a bit of a start. Had one of those little small like tiny greenhouse, like a pop-up greenhouse, and put the things in there. And I suppose that is a way to start it, isn't it? But you mentioned hardy vegetables. What would you class as hardy vegetables?
So vegetables that can stand a cold snap, basically. And most of those I will be sowing in March. So those are things like peas and brassicas, so some cabbages and things like that. Lettuces as well, rockets, so arugula in the States.
Yeah.
But a lot of things are very tender, though. So the tomato plants that I've just sown, these are actually going to be for the greenhouse. If you're going to be growing tomatoes outdoors, which is unlikely on the Isle of Man, you'd want to wait probably another month anyway, because you really want to make sure that they're going outside after all the chances of frost are over, which for us is May.
So what then would you say is the most exotic thing you've had success in growing over here on our tiny island?
Exotic. There are a lot of things that seem like standard veg that other people will grow in other parts of the world. Tomatoes, for example, aubergines.
Yeah, because I don't know anyone that's grown aubergines over here, eggplant, before.
I have, actually.
Oh, sorry. Both Aaron and Sarah. No, Aaron has. You've grown aubergines over here before?
I have, yeah. In my granddad's greenhouse. And they were a variety called Prosperosa, and they have this like silvery, sheeny shell, and they're stunning. They look like baubles. You don't want to eat them. You just want to use
Do you
them to
know
decorate
those,
things.
Tanya?
There are so many different varieties. I'm not aware of that one, but there are some really beautiful types out there. And I actually ordered in some seeds. So the aubergines that I have growing at home, they're just little tiny things right now. I can't remember the variety. It's a Japanese type. It's a beautiful, small black globe one that has a really good flavor. And I ordered that from a heritage seed company in the States.
Yeah, see, heritage seeds are so popular in America, and they're a really big thing, but you don't seem to see them so much over here.
You do, although they are kind of taken for granted. So for example, this seed packet that I have here, it's just ordinary varieties of tomatoes that you might come across in a garden center. There's several on here that are heritage varieties. For example, the Tigerella down here, which I've grown before in the past. And the great thing about heritage varieties is that you can save the seed from year to year if you're careful about cross-pollination. If you're getting a seed packet of a variety of any type of vegetable and it has F1 on it, that means that it's going to be difficult to save seeds because they're a hybrid. And so any seeds that they produce, any progeny, so the second generation, it will be unpredictable as to what the fruit or vegetable will actually look like. It could be more like one parent or like the other parent in the original crossing.
Wow, there's so much to think of, isn't there? What other stuff have you grown then, Aaron? What have you had success with?
I was going to throw a curveball, actually. I'm currently trying to grow some artichokes.
Oh,
yes.
I've just sown some seeds into a little seed tray on my windowsill, and I might be getting a bit carried away because it is slowly warming up, but last year we know there was a bit of a frost that hit us towards the back end of March. But have you ever had any luck with artichokes?
Oh, I've grown them for years. They do really, really well outdoors, and you'd think that and actually it didn't even occur to me because they do so well in the Manx weather that you'd think that they're pretty much a native vegetable type. And you actually think that they're quite exotic because they're a type of vegetable that most people don't eat or grow here, but they are a perennial. So once you have your seeds and plants going, they will grow from year to year to year, and they'll need replacing every 8 years or so. But very little work in the way of nurturing them. All they need is a top dressing of manure once a year, and away they go.
Where should I put them?
Full sun. They like full sun. And they say that artichokes want a sheltered place as well. But my allotment is quite exposed up on the slopes of Glenroy, and lots of other people have grown them as well, and they do just fine.
Wow. There you go. Some good
Brilliant.
advice for you there,
Absolutely.
Aaron,
Yeah.
from the woman who knows. So actually, we can grow quite a lot over here that you may not have actually thought about.
You can. And if you feel limited by something, so like warm weather type crops, then getting a greenhouse is a great option. And before I had a greenhouse, I would grow lots of things in the conservatory. So the scent of tomato leaves in the summer in the conservatory is just a great thing anyway. But if you have a will, there's a way to grow, even on the Isle of Man.
I have to say, it's one of those things. I think I was telling Sarah this the other day when I did have my little allotment. It's one of the most satisfying things in the world. And I remember when I'd started with very simple things: potatoes, sprouts, peas, some purple sprouting broccoli. I love that. But the potatoes, I remember actually digging up my first potato plant, and the potatoes just dropping off the fork, and it was one of my favourite moments ever, just knowing that I'd grown these and then I ate them, and it was kind of like, oh. And now I sort of think, gosh, it's something that I think everyone should experience at one time in their life. And peas straight from the pod.
Yes.
Just unlike anything else.
Those
aren't they?
two experiences are some of the most common experiences that people remember from their childhood, of going out.
I was a late starter.
Well, it's what I've got some potatoes here today.
Yay!
It's just it's one of those simple pleasures of growing your own, and it's the end product. So going and harvesting things and digging up potatoes, picking raspberries. These were the things that I remembered as a child, because I went through a long stint of not being interested in gardening at all. So my teenage years and 20s, gardening, whatever. But as I got to my late 20s, I started thinking about these things that it's perhaps nostalgia, but I wanted to get into it again because I remember doing that as a child. And if you have children, or you're a gardener and you know someone who has children, when it's time for potatoes to come up, bring them along and have them hunt for them, and they will remember it the rest of their lives.